The model year 24 update and upgrade to the Volvo C40 is a brilliant upgrade to an already very good electric car. I could make this list 15, 20, probably 25 points long, but I wanted to narrow it down to the 10 things I love about this, the model year 24 Volvo C40. Let's start off this video talking about the exterior design, because the Volvo C40 is one of my absolute favorite electric car designs, one of my favorite SUVs, and I think my favorite coupe SUV styling design. I mean, this is just a very gorgeous, elegant and stylish thing. There isn't a lot happening, but what is happening is so purposeful and so elegant. This vapor paint color with these 20-inch wheels, I mean, it just looks spectacular even in this bad lighting. I mean, see this like at sunset or sunrise when you have, golden hour and that beautiful lighting. It is such a beautiful car. But just, see how the sky here, we're in between a few buildings here and some trees, and, the sun is setting behind the building over there. And then you're just getting a little bit of cast of light, along this line. And, the creases, the edges is such a beautiful thing. And everything is just so harmonious. You have the matte black cladded, plastic along the bottom, around the wheel arches, and then a little bit higher, like on the wing mirrors, around the windows. Just a little bit of eyelash around the headlights and details around those fog lights. And also here on the lower part of the grille, we have that glossy black plastic topped up by, a panoramic sunroof and that dark roof. I think with the Thor's hammer LEDs, let's see if we can get these lights going. If we just, hit those unlock button on the key. I mean, Thor's hammer came out in like 2014. It's like almost 10 years old now, but I think it still looks modern. It's so distinctive Volvo, and a lot of people don't like, this blanked out or, deleted grille, whatever you want to call it. But I think this front version of the C40 or XC40, which has gotten these headlights now, is so much prettier than the pre-facelifted, or not the pre-facelifted, I mean the combustion version of the Volvo XC40. The C40 only comes as electric. I just think, the overall shape, the coupe, body style, the way it just swoops, and you have a little bit shorter overhang here than you have the front on the rear. Look at this. It's such a gorgeous and beautiful thing. And then you have the rear, which just ties everything together. You have these really cool, wraparound taillights. And then you have, the newest implementation of this vertical line that goes along the D pillar, which now is split up, into just dots. And we're going to see that in more Volvos. We've seen that in the EX30, if I'm not mistaken, the new EX90. And yeah, I just think this thing looks awesome. I think this is more beautiful, in person than something like a Polestar 2, which is also a design I absolutely love. So let me know in the comment section down below, guys. Do you think this is the prettiest electric SUV on the market? Yes or no? The front seats in the Volvo C40 is, of course, the same front seats you'll get in a Volvo XC40, and also the same seats you'll get in a Polestar 2, though finished differently. It just looks a little bit different. You have different material choices and stuff like that, like Nappa leather, ventilation and stuff like that. But overall, the same basic seat. And I've spent tens of thousands of kilometers in the seat in Polestar 2s, and also many thousands of kilometers in Volvo C40s and XC40s. And I have to say, at this price point, there is no seat that even comes close to the comfort, because what Volvo do very well is that they are soft but firm at the same time. Let me explain. They're soft enough that, they're nice to sit on for shorter and longer periods of time, but they're also firm enough that they're supportive over longer periods. And just the overall shape, I mean, they just work. They're so good. I love these seats. It seems like ergonomics are getting harder and more difficult for car manufacturers to get right. I don't know what it is. Maybe they just love touchscreens so much they don't care about customer satisfaction or functionality or making the cars more safe and easier to use. They just want it to look cool and, brag about who has the most screens and most screen real estate. I don't like that trend, but we're seeing, more manufacturers stepping a little bit away from that, from, the peak of screen mania. There are still screens here. You have, I think this is a 13-inch driver display, which is very nice, and then you have a 9.3-inch screen here, which it's been the same size since the Volvo XC90 back when it was launched in 2014. So this hasn't changed. And then you have buttons for everything else. So first off, you have the steering wheel button. So on the left side here, you have your adaptive cruise control settings. You have your speed increase and then decrease, and then you can toggle between auto steer and just adaptive cruise control with a button. You don't have to go deep into a menu and then into a sub menu and then press a button and then you have to confirm like 58 times, like, are you sure, are you really sure, are you super sure? You just can toggle here with this button. You have your distance there, super easy. Voice command also, and then you have your audio controls there, and then your button for your board computer. You have normal stocks here, and these stocks are just super nice to use. And then the right stock, a dedicated blinker stock here. And it's so hard to show you guys there, but this is the dedicated blinker stock. It is so good. And then you have your automatic wipers there with a button instead of one up as in many cars. And that means even when the automatic wipers are on, you can press down to get one wipe. I mean, this car really is made for Scandinavia, where we have poor weather a lot of time of the year. It's really, really thought out. On the door here, normal window controls. You have your child lock there. You have normal mirror switches, which is really nice because, when you're parking towards a curb and you want to check out the curb, you can just hit this button here and then you can drop your mirror. People are like, why do you want to adjust your mirror when you're driving? Because there are curbs and cars have big wheels. Instead of going into a menu and then into a sub menu and then into another sub menu, are you sure you want to adjust your steering wheel or you want to adjust your mirrors? And then you have to confirm 58 times. You don't have to do that in this car. It just works. Everything is simple. You have a manual, control for your reach and rake and height on the steering wheel. You don't have to go into a sub menu for that. You even have normal stocks, not buttons on the steering wheel. And then here you have a home button, dedicated home button, really nice. And then you have this row of buttons. You have a very large volume scroll wheel here, a volume knob with a big pause and play, and then you have skip forward, skip backwards, and then you have dedicated buttons here for your hazards, and then also your front and rear defroster. This is just a blank button because this is the same button array you'll get in a Volvo XC90, and that does the glove box. And then down here, check this out, guys. Have you ever seen anything like this before? This is a normal shifter. Tap it like that, 2 indentations to go into drive, and then twice that way, or 2 indentations to go into reverse. It is super awesome. And then P for park. Yeah. Ergonomics in this car are like top notch. I think this ties Audi with like a Q4 e-tron or a Q8 e-tron in just friendliness, usability, and easiness. Every time I get into this car, there's not a single thing I have to turn off or adjust. I just put it into drive. Regen is where I set it to. Lane keep is where I set it to. Lane departure is where I set it to. I don't have to do anything. It's the least frustrating and the easiest car to live with on a daily basis because of the top class ergonomics. I'm going to say this is the best of any car out there, electric car currently. Ergonomics on its own is all good, but that is nothing if the infotainment system isn't as good. And thankfully, the infotainment system in this Volvo C40 is one of the absolute best in the business. So first off, you have this 13-inch driver's display that has, very easy and legible gauges. You have everything you need, and then in the middle you have maps via Google Maps. It's the same maps you get here, so if you want, you can go double map. It's just so easy and so nice, and then you can toggle between the different, just 2. I think you just have a blank screen there, which will show you prompts for navigation, and then you have your actual map. But you have, your speed on the left side, you have your PRND on the right side, and then down here you have some trip computer information, and then you have your range and battery information. And then if you want, you can press a button here, and then you can get your, extended trip computer. It's super easy, shows you everything you want, and when you're charging, it will show you charging speed, all of the goodies that you need. And then you have the infotainment system screen. It's a little bit on the small side. 9.3 inches is not big in 2023, but it's fine. It just takes a little bit getting used to, especially if you hopped out of something like a Mercedes EQ product with the hyperscreen, which is like 57,000 inches. This 9.3 seems a little bit conservative, but it's fine. The screen size, and you know, you have your home button there, and then you have these tiles, which is super easy. You have Spotify built in, which just works flawlessly. You also have Apple CarPlay with the, you know, tether, but you don't need Apple CarPlay in this car because you have everything built in. It is Android automotive, so you have all your apps here. You can download apps from the Play Store, and then you have, you know, shortcuts to your 360 camera, and then you always have your climate here. Buttons are a little bit small, but it's just super easy to use. Yeah. Oh, there you go. A little bit laggy, but you just press it there. Usually this isn't laggy at all. You have your settings there. Everything is just so easily and logically laid out. I mean, there's an update here I haven't done yet, and then you have the voice commands with this, which are just super easy. So if you have a Google device, turn it off now because I'm gonna do the voice commands. I'm gonna do, "Hey Google, naviger til Casablanca I Morocco." So this car is so easy to talk to communicate to. It understands almost every prompt, and this is even in Norwegian. I think it's probably even better in English, because I don't think, I mean, even though Norway is a prioritized market for Volvo and their EVs, I think, you know, the English voice commands is probably going to be even better. And this is just, you know, based off Google, so I don't think Volvo have any, you know, say or do in the actual voice commands there. I mean, this is super easy to use. The infotainment system alongside, you know, the driver's display, which is super easy to use. And then let's do, I can't find a route because we have to go on a ferry crossing down here, so it can't actually find a route. But guys, this is a trip I want to do here on the channel, so make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel and comment down below, because I'm trying to get a Volvo like this to do a trip like this next month already. 10,000 kilometers. That would be pretty awesome. So I want to plug that idea there. But okay, we can do a different prompt that's a little bit easier. So that brings me to my next point. The route planning in this car is like second to none. So we're going to do the Google command again. Hey Google, naviger til Salzburg, Østerrike. Navigerer til Salzburg. So it's so quick right away. It shows you, you know, a text box down here. So, you know, you can monitor what you're saying. Easy. It just found, you know, 7 charging stops, 3 hours and 12 minutes of charging. You can go to route details and it will show you all, you know, here we're going to charge for 18 minutes and then 43 minutes, and it shows you the complete route to go the 1,756 kilometers. And from my experience, you can trust this. It says we're going to arrive, okay, just do the first charging stop, for example, 20% in Larvik. You can bet that we're going to arrive there within like a percentage of 2. You can really trust this. If you want to see it in action, go watch my long trip test. I'll link that in the description box down below, where, you know, I just rely on this. It's so easy, the route planning in this car. I mean, this alongside what Mercedes are doing with their EQ cars, and also, you know, Tesla to a degree, but Tesla will, you know, be biased towards superchargers. This will just choose chargers that will just work with the car. So it's super easy, super simple, best route planner out there. Even though, you know, the screen is a little bit small, you get used to it, but the fact that you have another screen here, so you can divide it, like, even though this is much smaller than something like a Tesla Model Y, you have 2 screens, so in total you actually have more screen real estate. Before we continue this awesome list of the top 10 things I love about this Volvo C40, and as you guys can see, there are a lot of things I do like, and the things are awesome, and I'm pretty enthusiastic about most of them. Before we continue the list, I just want to give a huge thanks to today's video sponsor, Recharge, the largest charge point operator in the Nordics, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, with more than 4,000 charging points across all of these countries. They are everywhere. And if you want to support the channel, if you want to support my videos, go to the link in the description box down below and find out where your closest recharge charger is. This being the Ultimate trim, it gets the optional Harman Kardon sound system, which is standard with the Ultimate trim. And these speaker grills are pretty nice. So you have them here on the front doors. You have one here on the passenger door, and then you have a center speaker up here, and then you have some subwoofers behind the dashboard. It's not the absolute last in, you know, hi-fi and audio quality, but it is very good for this price point. Remember, I have a lot of experience with a lot of expensive sound systems in different cars. You know, I started this channel with a Volvo XC90 way back in 2016, and my car had the Bowers & Wilkins sound system, which from many, you know, independent testers has been, you know, named the best sound system, less than 100,000 kroners or less than 10,000 euros or dollars in any car like in the past 10 years. So that's my reference. I had two of those Volvos. I've had Bang & Olufsen in Audis, and I have Bose in my Porsche. This isn't as good as, you know, those cars costing 100,000 euros plus, with optional sound systems costing like 1,500 to 3,000-4,000 euros, but it is very good. No complaints at all. This is a small cabin. You don't need that much power for it to sound good, but, you know, be wary about the settings, because, you know, because it doesn't have, you know, any dedicated mid woofers. This sound system is where you're gonna feel the lack in punch and sound. Be wary to don't adjust the subwoofer too loudly, in my opinion. That's my opinion. If you go light on, you know, the bass, it's gonna sound really good for most of the music most of the time. From the feeling of the driver's seat, the wrapping your hands around the steering wheel, and the shutting of the door, and just buckling your seatbelt, putting the car into drive, pressing the accelerator button, and turning the wheel, and then just going over the first few bumps. The sense of solidity as a total package in this car, in Volvos in general, is one of the most impressive things that, you know, for decades, people in my type of work, you know, who review cars, who test cars, who make videos, write articles, talk about, you know, that German sense of solidity. And for most cars, you know, they've caught up to that. You know, there isn't a huge difference anymore. But every time I get into this car or any Volvo product, I'm amazed that this feels as solid as, you know, the top tier German stuff. I daily a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo. That's my daily. I've had it for 18 months, done 35,000 kilometers. That's an expensive car, costing twice as much as this for a base model spec'd out than this top trim with all the bells and whistles, most power, biggest battery version of the Volvo C40. And this feels just as solid. Of course, it's not as nice to drive. It doesn't have as nice materials. It doesn't maybe look as cool. It doesn't wear a Porsche badge. But just, you know, pound for pound, euro for euro, bang for buck, like sense of solidity, I think this just nails it. Nothing at this price point. Not an Audi Q4 e-tron, not a BMW iX3, not a Mercedes EQA, EQB, EQC, yeah, name it. Not even in EQS. And I mean that seriously. Not even an EQS SUV has the sense of solidity going down a stretch of road as this car has. And I'm not exaggerating. It just feels so solid. Like, it feels like everything is just built out of just thicker steel. Bushings are thicker, and yeah, it's really hard to explain. And these are one of the hardest things I find to explain on camera to people watching my videos. It's just a sense of solidity. If you have any doubt in your mind about what I'm talking about, just go out and test drive one of these, because just the first 100 meters, it just feels like a tank. It feels like it could, you know, survive a nuclear war. It is that good. Ride and handling. So the way this car drives, ride, handling balance, steering balance, all the inputs, just, you know, the level of road noise, wind noise, and just, you know, the way it also just feels, the sense of solidity, is that balance is so good in this car. I think it's even better than an Polestar 2, because this it's a little bit more softly sprung, so it may not be as sporty, but I don't care about that. This is an SUV, a coupe SUV that looks great. You don't necessarily need it to be very, you know, sporty. It's sporty enough. It's sporty enough. But, you know, it just rides nicely. I've been driving this, you know, on bad and broken roads outside of Oslo, in downtown Oslo, over cobblestone streets, tram lines, and stuff like that. And yeah, I just love the way this drives. You know, the one pedal driving, calibration, going off the throttle, initially it's like, it doesn't, you know, just grab the brakes or start to regen. It's gradual. It's gradual. So let's just pull into this bus stop here because we have an ML behind us, and it just comes to a stop so naturally and progressively, and then the rest is just lets it go a little bit. And the blending between, you know, regen and the physical brakes here is seamless. You can't, even if you tried probably measuring it with like measuring equipment, you couldn't tell. You could not tell. And then we have the range and performance of this car. So this being the model year 24, performance is the same, or I think the 0 to 100 kilometers time is a little bit quicker because now there's more power on the rear axle. Before you got like a 50-50 split, but now I think it's like 299 horsepower on the rear axle and 109 horsepower on the front axle. So there's a lot more power on the rear axle. That may not be the actual split because there isn't, you know, any information, but it's rear wheel drive bias. So, but that makes it just a little bit faster doing that, you know, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour acceleration run. But it's plenty fast enough. This one does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour like 4.5 or 4.7 seconds, 408 horsepower. But what's really impressive is the upgraded battery, the efficiency, and I've done a whole bunch of testing with this car now. And in all of my tests, this car and also the Polestar 2 just, you know, crushes the old car. This is so impressive, especially considering the overall package, but also considering that this is actually based on an ICE platform. And on a new ICE platform, the XC40 came out in 2017, 6 years ago. Yeah, this is just an impressive car to drive, to live with, improved range, giving it a lot more real-world range and also a lot faster charging, preconditioning, everything. Like, I mean, there are cars like other cars, like Hyundai Ioniq 5s and 6 and Kia EV6 on an EMG platform, where people are going to say, oh, that car is, you know, it's going to have that 800 volt architecture, it's going to charge faster. Yes, some cars do individual things better, but just the whole package of this car, like everything in combination, it's not best at a single thing, but like the BMW 3 Series through the 80s and 90s and 2000s, it wasn't best at anything. It was just really good at everything, and this is the same thing. This 3 Series of the modern era. So there we go, guys. That was my top 10 list of the favorite things, the things I absolutely love about this Volvo C40. This is a brilliant and awesome electric car, and at the moment it is one of my absolute favorite electric cars. So let me know what your top 10 list of the Volvo C40 is down below in the comments. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.